Hey guys, welcome back to BRB Building Your Brand with Steph and Sky. Today we're talking about logo design and branding, which is a topic that I personally love. But before we get started, we have some weekly highlights and happenings for you.
Yeah, so my word this week has been tacky. That's just what I'm calling everything. So I seem to be using it to describe everything that I don't like that's happening this week. So I figured, hey, maybe this is a good time to talk about these things because it's a good what not to do segment.
This has definitely been a little bit funny for me to hear about. Of course, I know you've had a frustrating week, but the reasons for those frustrations are honestly a little laughable. But I am sorry for your rough week.
Oh my God, you're not kidding. So I know that I'm going to look back and laugh at this soon. I'm already kind of laughing about it now, and people will probably be like, okay, Steph, stop complaining. And yeah, that's fair. But just let me be dramatic about it first before I move on, okay?
Yeah, I think once we run through this list, you'll all understand a bit more why we're bringing this up, especially as we talk about branding later in this episode. So, Steph, what is on your list of tacky marketing moves people should avoid?
Okay, so first, this is going to be controversial. Bartering services. So now I get the appeal of trading skills and services, and I have nothing wrong with the barter system whatsoever. I've used it. I'm a fan of it. However, when it comes to digital services in exchange for physical goods, it just feels a little off to me. I mean, how do you even put a proper price on that?
Yeah, digital services are obviously intangible, while physical goods have a tangible value. So it just doesn't compute for me either. It feels like one way or another, someone's services or goods are going to be under or overvalued.
Yes, thank you. I think that's the part that I'm struggling with is like determining price and what you're getting for that price point. So anyways, that's just the first on my list. Next up, let's talk about social media. So, okay, while it's important to engage with your audience, commenting on every political or celebrity post is not the way to do it. It's distracting, it can come off as desperate, not to mention it can be a very polarizing topic and it can really alienate your audience.
Yeah, I think we've all seen those businesses commenting on every political or celebrity post. It's like, focus on your brand, people. If you want to comment on posts that aren't related to building your brand, just do it from your personal account.
100%. Uh, and lastly, let's just talk about design consistency. So nothing screams amateur hour louder than a mismatched brand. So I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you need a graphic created, reach out to your marketing person. I promise they'll be more than happy to put something together for you.
Yes, consistency really is key. Your brand has a personality, and your visuals should reflect that.
Yes. Um, so that was just my little rant of the week, my little tacky scenarios I've gotten into, and oh, it's fine. It's just little things, and they all add up, and it is what it is. But anyway, so back to the topic of today. So crafting a strong brand identity is like it's pretty much like building a house, right? And the logo is going to be your foundation for all of it. So it's really setting the tone for everything that follows. So branding is really going to help set your company apart from the rest.
Yeah, we recently helped a company start from scratch, and I find this to be super fun because we get to pick out their colors, their fonts, imagery, design a logo, and we also did their website, social media templates, and print materials. And I know we say this a bunch, but choosing a company to do all of your marketing really helps everything feel cohesive. I think everything came out looking great, if I do say so myself, and our client was super happy with that, how everything turned out.
Yes, I agree. Give yourself a little pat on the back. You had some really awesome logos that you had created for them. I was surprised that they actually went with the one that they did. There was a
Agree.
different one you had done that was my favorite.
Hmm.
But it all really came together in the end. I think all of her branding, it looks awesome. But we've also seen the flip side of this, which I've talked about in my tacky rant earlier in this episode. Sorry, not sorry. With some brands, you can just tell that they use different people or agencies for every aspect of their business. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing at all. But we can tell that none of them communicate with the other. So you've got mixed fonts, different colors. It all looks very confusing and it's not cohesive in the slightest. And I know that there's, things like budgetary restraints that can often come from starting a new business. So this isn't even about how much you spend on your branding, but just be sure that you establish a brand guideline that can be shared out, ensuring everyone that you employ or contract with that's involved in some aspect of communicating your brand is all on the same page.
Yep, I agree with all of that. And I think if you're new to logo and branding, we have a few basics we think you should know, starting with a logo. So, a logo is a graphic representation or symbol of a company or product. They're important for making a good first impression, offering brand recognition, and memorability. And there are a bunch of different logo types, including, so the first is a word mark. So think like Google. This focuses on just the business's name alone. Then we have a letter mark. So this could be like ESPN, which is composed of a few letters, and it's often the company's initials. Then we have a pictorial mark. So think of Nike, where the swoosh is the main logo they use to convey their brand. And then we have an abstract mark. So this is like Spotify. It expresses multiple concepts and feelings in a single symbol. And lastly, we have a combination mark. So this can be like Target because they use both the word mark in some cases, but you'd also know that the red circle Target symbol is Target as well.
Yeah, and let's break down what goes into creating a good logo, right? So, let's start with the design process. So, first of all, it's all about research. You really want to dive deep into the company, its values, and who they're trying to reach.
Absolutely. Understanding the target audience is key. You want a logo that speaks directly to them. So once we have a clear picture, it's time for the fun part, which is brainstorming. We like to sketch out a bunch of ideas, exploring different concepts and styles.
Yeah, and let's not forget the power of technology either. So there are so many amazing design platforms out there. I know we like to use Procreate on the iPad for the initial sketch and ideas. Then we move it into Adobe or a similar software.
And remember, a logo isn't just a pretty picture, it's a symbol of a brand. So we like to make sure it aligns with the overall brand identity from colors to fonts.
Which brings us to another important point that we will talk about more in a little bit. But colors and fonts, they really can evoke different emotions. So choosing the right ones is crucial in creating that desired brand perception. Make sure you're just doing your research.
Yeah, we have some tips for creating a memorable logo as well that we've learned over the years, starting with simplicity. So, less is often more. It can get confusing when there's too much going on in a logo. And along the same lines is relevance. So, the logo should reflect the company's values and mission. It doesn't have to be obvious in the design, but people shouldn't be questioning what your brand is because of the logo. And also versatility. So the logo should look good in different sizes and formats. I think it's good to make a mix of logo types because there's some instances you would want to use a word mark versus pictorial, for example. And then last is timelessness. So avoid trends that will quickly become outdated. And I like to think of, and no hate to anyone that still has this type of logo, but the script fonts over the watercolor splash. I feel like this was very 2020, and you could definitely tell that you made it on Canva free version.
Absolutely. And moving on to the role of branding. So, branding is essentially mind management. So, it's creating this specific mental image of your company in the consumer's mind. So, this image or perception, it's influenced by every interaction a consumer has with your brand, right? So, from the logo to the customer service experience, it's going to help build trust, customer loyalty, and brand equity. And some of the key elements of branding would include your logo, the color palette, typography, the tone of voice, slogans, and brand messaging.
Yeah, and I think going along with that, every brand has a story to tell. So, whether it's a story of the company's founders, its mission, or its values, a compelling narrative can create an emotional connection with its consumers. Storytelling helps humanize a brand and makes it seem more relatable and memorable.
Exactly. And I think effective storytelling can differentiate a brand from competitors, really making it stand out in a crowded marketplace. And on that same note, just going back to the client that jump started this whole conversation today, do not sleep on copywriters. This was a brand new business, but our client knew that investing in her marketing and branding upfront was going to be super important to her long term. And when I tell you that this copywriter was 100% worth the money, it was amazing. I don't think I've actually ever worked with a copywriter that provided so much value to their client. So, if you can find the capacity within your budget to work with a copywriting professional, I would highly recommend doing so.
Between both of our agencies and the work that was put in, I just know that this client is not going to need to make any major updates to her branding anytime soon. But thank you guys for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more tips on building your brand.
And follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn.
See you next time.
Bye.
Mine looks dark today.
You're starved?
No, my thing looks dark today.
Oh, they said I'm like starved today.
Just
You tell where
starving
my mind
myself.
is.
When you like put your password in or like your thumbprint,
Oh,
like that screen, it's just like an aardvark.
wait, say that one more time. What'd you call it?
An aardvark? Is that not what it's called?
An aardvark?
Aardvark?
I think you added an extra syllable in there.
Aardvark.
Aardvark.
I don't think I've ever even said that word ever in my life. So that's the
Why would you
first
ever
time.
have a need to?
Exactly.